Hey, I'm Ossie from Three Monkeys Solderless, home of the world's best cables for your pedal boards. Got the DC, we got the AC, we got the AC/DC, we got it all. So check us out, threemonkeysolderless.com. All right, so we're back on Sunday, and I wanted to kind of like continue on with the theories and some observations and moving in all kinds of circuitous serpentine directions through this maze that we call the sound. So today I kind of wanted to hear about it later again, right? Because I've just been listening to Fair Warning a lot recently, and there have been some, I don't know, I've had some observations about it, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is starting to sound like there's, a theme running through here. And then, it kind of rattles other things loose that you may or may not remember about how other albums around that time were recorded. And it brings me back to Eventide. So I kind of wanted to explore more about the harmonies of the Fair Warning sound, and how that guitar tone was created. Let me put on my cans here, and we can kind of start. I have Fair Warning queued up in GarageBand, and I've got Hear About It Later queued up there. But what I wanted to kind of get back to was like this idea that, his sound, the guitar sound is in there, but it's what surrounds it is a derivative sound, that there's processing and harmonization and other things that are creating a total that is more than just, a mic in front of this amplifier, so to speak. So listening to it some more, I kind of was like, you know what? The 910 is probably, I'm just guessing right now, because unfortunately, well, here's my 910, and unfortunately it's down. It decided to crap out on me a while back, and I need to get it fixed. So I'm gonna send this unit out to Beamish Electronics to have them fix it, because they have all the the cards in here, all the DBX cards. They have the Logic chips, the CMOSs. They have a lot of experience with how these things work, and they know exactly when they're running right. So I'm gonna send this off to Beamish and have them look at it. But all right, so what was the deal with this thing, and why I'm kind of like really hyped about it, and to get it going again and see, how it works into this. All right, so AC/DC, Back in Black. That album had some of the best guitar tones on it ever. And I know that there's some of that was used, on the snare drum, right? So that's sort of like the lore, that the snare drum was kind of like, thickened up by use of the Eventide. I also think that there's this idea of, I don't know what it is yet, right? But I've been always sort of like heard the rumors of it, but I'm not a record producer, so I don't know exactly what it was. And I certainly wasn't a record producer in the 1970s and 80s, but there's something that's known as the crunchy guitar Eventide trick, so to speak. And it revolves around this knob, the anti-feedback, which is not on the 949. It's only on the 910. You do have, some feedback expansion controls there, right? Like you have the level for the main and delay of the feedback, and you have the EQ in that, low and high, but you don't have this particular weird anti-feedback sort of knob, which can create some unusual effects. And I remember them, but it's been a while since I've used this thing, and mostly I didn't use it for that purpose. Also, going through, we'll listen to this, but there was definitely, I'm starting to think it may have been an octave down or something along those lines, octave up, octave down, with the Eventides that was creating, like the Unchained riff, that sort of, sounds that his guitar had on that album, or the solos on there where you can clearly hear it. Now, at first I was like, maybe it's, the Boss OC2, but that didn't exist. So then I started thinking, well, you know what? On Fair Warning, he got a box from Electro Harmonix, I'm guessing, right? And in that was that goofy synthesizer that he used, on like 1 Foot Out the Door, Sunday in the Park, rather. So maybe during that time, he was looking through the Electro Harmonix catalog, and he also might have picked up something like the Harmonix multiplier, or what is it, the octave multiplier or multiplexer? Octave multiplexer. So that was another idea of mine. I was like, well, maybe, that was sort of like an early version of a POG or a HOG or a lot of different things, which created this kind of like crazy synth tone that you could run in parallel with the source, which in this case would have been his guitar, and it could have given you that effect. But, being that it could be, but it could also very well be the harmonizers. So the harmonizers, you could do one up and one down. You could do all kinds of things like that. Tuning the pitch change that's combined with the original signal by means of, like the manual control. So this has got to get fixed, and it's definitely going to be worth fixing, I think, and get it back into the mix. And then we could start to listen to, how this worked. Now, this was around when Van Halen 1 was done too. So even in Van Halen 1 now, I'm starting to hear some sort of like octave down stuff on the guitars. Very faint. Could be room resonance as well, but I'm starting to hear some very faint stuff that could be a result of mixing in a little bit of a sub-octave to create, a fatter guitar sound, as well as, some of the other tricks. So we're going to send this off to Beamish and hopefully get this back soon, and we can get into listening to it. But let's get into, I got hear about it later, queued up. I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to stop it and pause it and annoy everybody with my baloney. So be prepared for baloney. If you don't stand for baloney, you might want to stop now, because there's going to be some baloney. So here we go. All right. I mean, you can hear it there, right? So when I was doing the chase on that sound with the Eventides, I can't remember whether I was using the pitch change as well. I don't think I was. I think I was just using the flange, right? I'm pretty sure of that, because I hear in that a lot of stuff, right? I hear the flanger into the front, so to speak, or into the DI, the way that we had it set up, right? Flange is the guitar flanger, the MXR, going into the DI, set up with like some EQ for an acoustic guitar sort of like setting, and then using the Eventide for a flange effect, which is a different kind of flange, which is much more like a tape flange, which is very subtle and really complements. It gives a swirl to the swirl, and then chorus on top of that, as well as delays. Now, I think there might have been some pitch change in there, because I'm hearing, you could say it could be like, the low notes kind of giving a harmonic there, but to me, it doesn't sound like the guitar's harmonic. It sounds more like the way that early sort of Logic would create harmonics. So hear that boom. Even there, on that high note. Now listen to that. I don't think that's the bass. Turning it down a bit. Here you hear it. I mean, you can hear the bass guitar in its line, and there's another subharmonic in there. Now, I think it's subtle in certain points, and then it gets heavier as it goes on. But I want to get a little bit further down on this track, and where the sort of solo comes in, and then there's a particular dive bomb, which sounds like it's on the G. And you can hear as it goes down, you definitely hear that there's an octave down on this thing. Well, as usual, disaster had struck. Coincidentally, I had just hit the stop button. Let's get rid of this bullshit. So disaster struck. So we're back. So where we left off was listening to this track. So I got it queued up again. I'm rewound it to the beginning again, so to speak. And let's listen to it. Rather. Here we go. I mean, you could definitely hear a sub there. And a copyright strike. Even on that high note, you hear it going left. Right there, where you hear it. Like right there, that part. I've just got, a guitar here. That part does it. That part, you definitely hear those notes, but a sub below it too. You can definitely hear that. I'm gonna bump the mic one more time, and then I'm gonna shoot myself. So here we go. Right? There's definitely a lower harmonic, like 1 or 2 octave down. We're going to look at this guitar a little bit in another second, too. So hang on with that. It's like, why is there a fucking Junior in the room? Who knows? All right, let's keep listening. I want to move ahead a little bit to the solo area and a little bit past the solo, because I think this part we all pretty much know really well. So I don't have any of this really prepared, as usual. This is just conversation, right? While you're hanging out here on the Sunday show. And I don't do a whole lot of preparation for everything. I just want to, my preparation is done in thinking all day, every day about this stuff while I'm driving in my car, or while I'm working on someone's amplifier, or while I'm just, daydreaming. It's, unfortunately about this kind of stuff. It's like, whoa, what was that about? So, yeah, let's hear this. Like, you definitely hear it there, right? There's it's not just, this. It's not just that. There's like a very strange sort of harmony going on there. So there too, I mean, that's like, it's not quite like the same exact as on, the solo of Fair Warning, but, you could definitely hear on those riffs. Oops. Right there, you can hear it. On that whole, you definitely hear it there. there. All right, on the bent up on that, right? You're hearing two things now. So now you're also hearing something that's a little bit up as well. So we're getting this three-part harmony, right? Eddie's sort of main guitar. But you're also hearing right there. Now, crazy Eddie heads, right, would know that exact sort of like thing was used, that exact note, or that sort of like use of the Eventide was used on the solo on Live Without a Net, right, where then he's kind of going. And he's holding this note for a while. And then you hear the Eventide come in. I guess, you know, Rudy, or rather, not Rudy. All right. Zeke was back there turning up the manual knob on the Eventide to get that octave up above that. So you hear the exact same sort of effect here on that top note. We'll just bring it back again and you can hear it. You hear it there. All right, let's let it run to his dive bomb that he has. Here. You could definitely hear the subharmonic there. I mean, that almost sounds like some kind of like an oboe or a wind instrument. It no longer sounds like, you know, just that fundamental sort of G flat or whatever it is right there. It's you know, there's also another note below that. I think there's something going on above too to create these harmonies that he's got. So we're going to be experimenting with that as well. So we'll have two harmonizers, which will help, right? Because we can maybe use one harmonizer to do the octave up, or whatever it's going to be, if maybe a fifth up or a third up. I think it's going to probably be an octave. And then we'll use this harmonizer to go an octave down. And then we'll have the anti-feedback, which is from, I haven't had a chance to experiment with it before it went, you know, before I sort of like lost it to the, you know, to the effects of age and time. But there is a known quantity of a crunchy guitar effect that was used quite a bit and was known, especially by like Mutt Lange, that was on the Eventide. So I'm sure Don, you know, was experimenting and knew about these things and was, you know, hip to it all. So, you know, whoever came up with it, I don't know. What exactly it is, I'm not sure. Am I going to be able to replicate it? I don't know. But we're going to try that next. So it's going to be sort of like Eventide crunchy guitars. All right. So I guess that's good on the sort of like fair warning, like chase. Now it's sort of like Things Hidden in Plain Sight by Jack Handey. So Eddie had a Junior, right? That could be like a name of a song, Eddie Had a Junior. So Eddie Had a Junior, and that was the one that he like tried to repaint, and he used paint thinner on it, right? And he just kind of swirled the paint around, and he was like, it was disgusting afterwards. You could see that guitar is in 5150, right? There's pictures of like the guitars all kind of like on the wall hanging around the time of, I guess it's around 1984, 85. Maybe it's a little bit further than that, but there is the Disgusting Junior up there. So where the Junior just couldn't have been just sitting around, right? Like I can't imagine that Eddie owned a Junior. He liked the Junior. You know, Rudy Lyon was talking about how he loved it when Eddie was playing his Junior. And that he wouldn't ever use it for recording. A 50s Junior. I can't imagine it, right? So the Juniors from the 50s were absolutely monsters. They just were. They just sounded so good. They were used on so many records, right, that you wouldn't think. And I mean, just this week, right, we had Brad did an interview with Shred Shifty where he's talking about, you know, some of the recording that they did back in the day, and obviously Train Kept a Rollin' with Steve Hunter was done with a Junior, right? Another big Ed head, Billy Joe Armstrong, right, from Green Day. Billy Joe plays Juniors. Billy Joe's tone is insane, right? It has that quality to it. The Juniors just sound great. So where was it? What was it being used for? When did he use it? Did he use it? I have to think he did. So anyway, I got this Junior. It's, you know, like a 2000 Junior Gibson, right? From, I think, 2002, maybe. I traded Rudy's guitars when I was, you know, selling blockheads to them for one of these guys. And I decided to get a 50s, you know, soap bar, dog ear, right? A 50s P90. When I got the guitar, I was like, I need to get like an original pickup. And back then, nobody gave a crap about those pickups. You could buy 50s Juniors, 50s P90s for like $90, right? That were just pulled out of everything and totally unmolested. And so I just bought a bunch of them and tried them all out and found one that I really liked and held on to the rest. But I put the best one that I had in this. And they have so much output, right? Because a Junior pickup has two magnets in it. Has twin Alnico magnets in it, right? One sits on one side of the coil. The other magnet sits on this side of the coil. And they just have an enormous amount of output. So yet another technical difficulty. I guess this computer is on its way out. So where did we leave off? With Leslie West, right? So Leslie used the Juniors for all that stuff, you know. And that sound was, you know, well, some of it was the fuzz pedal that he used too, but the Junior. So these things, they just sound great. So I can't imagine that somewhere along the line, Eddie didn't use a Junior. So I'm not saying where he did it and that he used it on Van Halen 1, but where was it used? It had to have been used. I mean, it sounds good for that stuff, you know? Let me mute the mic so we don't hear the kind of the strumming with it. I mean, it has that, you know, big organ, you know, sound to it. It definitely does on those triads. They sound great. They have great sort of like pick kind of like, you know, clarity to them while they're thick at the same time, right? So we can listen to something like maybe for this. Seems to be going out of tune. The other thing with this guitar really needs a setup bad. The strings are like a mile off the fretboard right now. It hasn't been played or set up in a long time. So it's kind of like the tuning isn't great, being You know, that there's the action so high, it goes a little sharp in different places when you're playing it in different places. It's not very comfortable to play either. Maybe it was used, you know, on this album with the drop D stuff, right? That sounds pretty cool, right? That's actually in the right place. That's weird. That could actually... What's going on that my guitar is suddenly cut off? Did I do something here? I think so. I don't know what the hell I just did. We got major issues here. Ugh. Everything on this computer is going batty on me. Well, the humbucker's usually in the same place too, but that's kind of coincidental. That could be a clue for that. I mean, maybe the Juniors were used all over the place. But those chords, I mean, just the way they sound electric with Juniors, right, as opposed to the humbuckers. We listened to, let's try it on like something like this. Yeah, I think the guitar would actually sound a lot better if it had a better setup on it right now. I mean, it's really, the action is so high on it. It's like the notes, it just sounds way out of tune in a lot of places, you know? That doesn't sound right. So we'll have to get the Junior set up too and explore with that a little bit more. So, you know, the Junior, I think it sounded really good on something like Fair Warning, so on Unchained. So that may be something to explore there. Going to have to, you know, I'm really excited to see what the Eventide 910 will do in terms of like trying to figure out the crunchy guitar trick with it and the effect of the anti-feedback knob on it. So looking forward to doing that. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good for today. Got a lot more work to do down in the construction room. More amps to build, more amps to repair, all kinds of things going on. So keeping busy. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Sunday.